Yes.
Awesome. That is so loud. She is very loud. Okay, so to start off today, I thought it would be interesting to talk about crystals from a different perspective, which is how they can move and transform energy for us. Because sometimes people think about crystals like, oh, it's pretty, I like it, I'm going to get it, I'm going to bring it into my house. And now what? What does it do? It sits there and I dust it, right? But it can be a tool that you can use to actually grab in a moment of stress, to make you feel more in control, or to, like we kind of talked about energy going into it, to send your energy into it or through it so it can help you to process and move through the emotion. Does that make sense? Okay. So, what are the emotions that you guys get stuck in that you think a crystal could help with? Are there any that pop to mind?
I mean, the first one that came to mind for me was anxiety.
Okay. We'll definitely talk about that. That kind of goes with number 2 that we're going to talk about. Any other ideas, you guys?
Emotions, fear
Okay.
of a lot of things.
Fear of a lot of things. I get that. I feel that too. And what about you, Star? Is there any emotions that you feel?
Well, there's a lot of emotions that I feel, but I would be curious to find out how I can use this to help other people.
Okay. So I've got a couple of different subjects that I pulled out just because we're doing an hour today. So the first one I was going to talk about is anger and frustration, because I feel like a lot of us can have a frustrated or angry moment where it's like the first thing that we think about is growling, yelling, stomping our feet, blaming somebody else, feeling that like surge of emotion, and we don't know what to do with it except to kind of expel it, right? So one of the crystals that I like, or semi-precious stones that I like, is this one. And can you guys see that clearly?
Yeah.
And does anybody have an idea what it is?
Is it apatite?
It is apatite. Yes. Good job. She gets a gold star.
Sorry.
This is called, no, you're supposed to jump in. It's called blue apatite. And I made some notes for myself because I knew I wasn't going to remember everything all at once. It came from the Greek word meaning to deceive, which I thought was really interesting. Many people mistake it for other minerals such as peridot or labradorite or beryl. And the largest apatite deposit is in Russia, but it can also be found in Brazil, Burma, Madagascar, and Mexico, or anywhere that you find your crystals, local crystal shops. It has a really cool feeling to me. Anytime there's a blue stone, I look toward what I'm not communicating and how I can do it maybe a little bit better. So this would be associated with your throat chakra. Using this stone to, like I said, send energy through it. Using this stone also as a space where you could write down everything that you're angry about and place the stone on top of that list would be another way to release it peacefully. So I see this as a stone where it actually like releases peacefully rather than in a big dynamic way. So I'm going to share something in the chat because I forgot that I was doing that. Let's see. I'm sharing a little bit more info about it, and then you guys can download or print these out for reference later. Okay. Clicky. Let's see if it's coming through. Can you guys see the chat window? Okay. So yeah, it's really, for me, mostly communication stone. So when we have healthy communication, especially during times like now when we're in Mercury retrograde, healthy communication is going to equal better relationships. It's also going to equal better working relationships, better overall. And no, this is not a stone that everybody has. Steph, you probably have a piece of it though, knowing you. But I put on the the little slate there, some alternate stones that work almost as well for me. I don't have an example of kyanite, but it's blue. Do you have one? Okay.
I do
Please
a
hold
gray
up if you
one.
do.
I'll go get it.
My crystal assistant, yes. I was asking Deb earlier if she had any stones by her that I didn't have, so that's great. And then Amazonite and bloodstone. So this one is Amazonite, and Deb, it's similar to the one that you have, right? Almost exactly. We're crystal twins. I love it. Okay, here comes the kyanite. Oh, Amazonite and kyanite. Yeah, kyanite is bumpy, and it almost has the same feeling as black tourmaline for anybody who knows what that feels like. And then bloodstone is another one that I don't have, but bloodstone also will do the same thing as helping with communication. Is that bloodstone? You're muted.
Hematite,
Okay.
but if you crack it open, it's like bloodstone.
It is like bloodstone. It's got the red. Yes, yes, yes. So does that make sense to everybody? Like how this could actually be a productive stone for you when you move through anger and frustration? And sort of how having some tools in your arsenal can help you to make it through certain situations. Like if you know that you're going into a toxic, potentially toxic conversation, if you prepare yourself by having one or more of these crystals with you, they're going to be like your little support system in your pocket. So, or in my case, in my bra half the time, but we're not going to talk about that.
Does it work through the phone?
Does it work through the phone? It will, yeah, actually. I mean, it can affect your energy, and it can affect the energy, if you intend it to, the people that you're having a conversation with. So you can place with any crystal or semi-precious stone, you can place a thought or intention into the stone. So even if you take a moment or two before a meeting, if you hold the stone and you say what it is that you wish to accomplish during a meeting or conversation, and then have that stone with you, it'll be your friend, it'll be your backup system. So you're not going through it alone. You know, that's the other thing that I feel strongly about crystals, and I've worked with them for years, is that they kind of are on the same team with me. Additionally, if you have too many crystals that you're wearing all at once, you can sort of jumble your whole system. This is a situation where more is not necessarily better. So when, like Deb, you have your tray of crystals, right? You have placed them there together and they like each other. You would know if they didn't. You would say to yourself, oh, I don't like this one here. I'm going to go put it by the windowsill. Your intuition would guide you to do that.
Okay.
But if you're constantly, if you're someone who's like wanting to have, I want all the help in the world, and you're putting on 12 different crystals, your pockets are full, you're kind of canceling everything out because everybody's trying to help you, and then they're getting loud. It's sort of like a whole group of people talking in an audience all at once. You cannot hear them individually. So I would say if you're working with stones on your body or with you, limit it to 4 or 5. I mean, I don't think that we can process more than that and have the individual energy help us. Okay. So ask me questions, you guys, before we move on to our other emotions.
Question more on like when to, oh, sorry.
So go ahead.
Oh, like about cleansing and like when to cleanse, how to cleanse. Like I'm really bad about doing that.
Everybody's got different opinions. So my opinion with cleansing crystals, especially the ones that are okay in water. So I just talked to Deb about this before the meeting started. Selenite, no water. It's a no-no because it's a salt-based stone. Otherwise, anything in the quartz family, anything in the feldspar, agate, jasper families, they're all fine in the water. I use cold water and visualize the water going through the stone. So I'll hold the stone underwater. It's how I bond with the stone when I fit it. Yes, I will take the stone, run it under cold water, see everything going down the drain, literally all the way down the drain through the sewage system, back into the biggest body of water near me. Okay, so the visualization is pretty expansive. and then sit with your stone, hang out with it, get to know its energy. So that's my way of connecting and cleansing. Other people put them on the windowsill for 24 hours, preferably at a full moon. So you're getting the full cycle of full moon energy and the sun energy to purify. You can use sound to purify. You can use a tuning fork. You can use a singing bowl. You can hum or sing, because the vibration definitely clears them. But water's my go-to, because I feel like water's the best at cleansing emotion, and usually they're going to pick up on emotions from the environment. If they've been sitting in a crystal store forever, or sitting in your house where you've been like having drama or breakdown, they're going to absorb all that. So you want to wash it away with the water. Okay. Deb, did you have a question?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Any other questions, Steph?
No, I'm good.
You're good?
I do.
Okay. Okay, ask. I think you do. Is that
I
where you
do.
start? Okay, ask me.
Sorry.
That's okay.
What shape is best for which crystal? Does it matter? Like there are crystal balls that are clear, and then some of them are kind of a pinkish color, and some of them are kind of a bluish color. Is there a specific shape that goes best with a specific kind of crystal?
You broke up a little, but I'm sure I got your question. So that's an interesting question. So the answer is yes, there are specific shapes that I feel go better with certain stones that are associated with certain chakras. So meaning our earth level chakras. So root chakra, sacral, second chakra, and solar plexus would all be more action oriented stones. And whenever there's action, I think direction. So any of those stones would be better in a point, a crystal point, either a single point or a double terminated. I don't have a double terminated example in front of me. Do I? I don't, I'm sorry. Oh yes, I do. Here's a double terminated. So thank you, Deb. So points on both ends. Because that will tend to direct the energy more. It'll get you to action faster. So that's what those chakras are about. So root chakra, sacral, so creativity and self-esteem. When it comes to heart chakra, I would go more toward round or softer edge stones because it will expand the energy out equally. Same thing with a crystal ball. Crystal balls are great with rose quartz, clear quartz, anything that is also green, because heart chakra is green. So hang on, I'm trying to think of my favorite green stone for heart. That's an interesting one because there are so many, but I love moss agate, which is a green and white. If there's if you have a big circle of this or around, or even this has soft edges, this could be placed over your heart. When it comes, oopsie, that's my I should change to the next emotion alarm. When it comes to anything like other shapes where you've got multiple angles, it would really depend on what your purpose is. So if you have a bigger purpose, like you want to send out energy to the world that's going to change things, the more angles on the stone, the better. Sorry, I know you have like the dodecahedron, the one that's got all those different angles in it in your crystal set. That would really be able to send directed energy in a 360-degree way. It's itty bitty, but can you guys see that?
Yes.
It's got tons of different angles. Yeah, which I think my math. So dodecahedron has at least 10 angles, but I think it's 20 or more. Anyway, Star, do you have the answer to that question?
There's a lot of points.
Yeah. So that one would really be if you want to do directed work to send it out in multiple directions, multiple people, or to the world. Okay. Did that kind of answer your question?
Would this be similar?
That would be similar but softer. So that would have, so if you think about a paintbrush, right, you could have a really fine point. So the dodecahedron comes out in fine points, fine rays of energy. The second one that you held up would be like a wider brush stroke. So wider, softer, maybe not as immediate.
Okay, so I was wondering if like if agatite or apatite was were those good for specific shapes? Like are they good with circle shapes, or are they better with pointed shapes? Or because I've seen so many crystals that have so many different shapes, they're made into things, and then they kind of like sometimes they just lose their ness.
They lose their stuff. Yeah. So even though I have a lot of polished and cut stones today that I'm showing you, like this is a cut stone, this is a tumbled and polished, but it's also cut on the bottom. I tend to like raw stones, so raw crystals that have not been polished, like this one. Oopsie, direction of camera. Because I feel like, especially with quartz in its raw form, it's going to have the highest vibration before it gets tumbled around, right? With some of the other stones, like with apatite, it's always going to have a lumpy shape, even when it's in its natural form. So this one, softer, rounder, especially because you want it to soften anger and emotion in this moment, like that's what we're talking about. Softer edges to soften emotion, okay? Because you get it? Okay, awesome. All right. I think probably we could move on to the next stone. This stone is more about sadness and grief. I know we've gone through a lot of that, like maybe not individually, but globally over the last 3 years. There's been a lot of loss. There's been a lot of also fear and anxiety. This stone that I'm going to show you will cover the sadness, the grief, the anxiety, and that feeling of being depleted by those emotions. Okay, so this one, maybe one person in the room will know what this is. Whew. It is not common. Does anybody know what it is?
I know I have it. Is it like rhodolite?
So it's thulite. It's close to rhodonite
Okay.
or rhodochrosite. Yeah. I'm going to put a slate up in the chat again. One moment, please. When I find my chat, there it is. Sorry, I'm not multitasking well today. Brain and computer and all of the things. Okay.
Also, there's a wicked storm that keeps running through here.
Oh, okay. We had rain this morning, but now it's sunny. So do you still have internet? Obviously, if we're talking,
Yep.
right?
Okay, but it's coming. Just fair warning. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. I will be prepared.
Well, it'll go along the fence, so we're all good.
Okay, yes, the very important fence there. So thulite pushes the emotional pain to the forefront, urging you to face the negative experiences once and for all. This weight may have been carried for far too long. That's pretty powerful. So what are the emotions that we may be carrying that we didn't realize that we were carrying? This stone has the ability to find it and push it out, and get it out of us. And it gives you strength at the same time, bringing comfort as well. It's very soft yet powerful. So sometimes for emotional pain, sadness, and grief, the first stone that somebody would think about is rose quartz, which is very common. Everybody knows what rose quartz is. This is just a rose quartz pyramid. But rose quartz, to me, has a very fluffy, sweet, bubblegum kind of energy to it. So this works better to cleanse your outer layers, not your deeper layers. So if you're having a bad mood that passes by quickly, rose quartz can help you to feel softer and better. But the thulite is what's going to go to the deeper layers and bring up the stuff that maybe you didn't realize was still in there. So I'll use as an example, this stone would have been great for me when I didn't grieve the loss of my father. So my dad died when I was 25. I kind of worked through life. I went back to working 3 full-time jobs. I thought, well, I had a week off. I'm sure I'm fine. And then I didn't grieve my dad until my mom died 10 years ago. So if I had had this stone with me at the time that my dad passed, I wouldn't have gotten away with just skimming the surface. I wouldn't have gotten away with tucking away the pain somewhere else that made me work on it later. It also is not healthy to hang on to emotions. We know these things, right? Hanging on to emotions in the body equals disease. And maybe if I had had this stone, I wouldn't have ended up with cancer, right? So it's just a lot to think about. But I do have alternate stones, like rose quartz is an alternate to it. Selenite is another stone that can help to clear and cleanse, purify energy before it has a chance to get stuck. It won't do quite as much work to bring up the deep hidden stuff, but it'll definitely work to get the top layer off. I know, Deb, you have selenite. I'm sure, Steph, you have it. Star, I'm not sure if you do. But one of the things that you can do with the selenite wand, or even like with your little tower that you have, Deb, you can run it through your aura. You can cleanse your whole self and get rid of whatever is hanging around just on a daily basis. So it'll cleanse light energies, light imperfections, maybe not the deep stuff that we're talking about, but it's a pretty good alternate. And yep, there it is. That's its natural form. Yeah, definitely. Good job.
Can I ask a quick,
Sure.
can I ask a quick question? Could you use thulite to help with any emotions that you have that are from like ancestral stuff?
Totally. Yeah, because that would be clearing the deeper layers. You know, like I talked about with the appetite, writing down your anger and things that you want to work on and putting the stone on the list. You could do the same thing with the thulite. You could do it in story form, like writing out the story that you're trying to purify or connect to. You could ask for assistance from your elders. In written form, again, use this stone. If you do want to connect with like ancestral old pain and really purify it and purge it, you want to be very protected when you're doing it. So using thulite in combination with black tourmaline would be a good idea. Specifically black tourmaline by your feet.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, because otherwise what comes up and out might be a lot bigger than you're expecting when you're wanting to connect to ancestors. So the third alternate stone, which is listed first, is this one, which is lepidolite. My little lepidolite does not have the pink flecks in it. It usually has a little bit more visible tourmaline, pink tourmaline in it. This one doesn't, but it's a lavender stone. This is a soft stone. This would be like a soft version of thulite. So it will go deep, but it's not going to be shockingly deep. And there was a little more info about thulite, which I thought was kind of cool when I was doing the research on it, because this is a relatively new stone to me. Like I found out about it and connected with it about 2 years ago, which is rare because I've been playing with crystals my whole life. So that's, you know, the better part of half of a century. We're not going to talk about specifics. But so this one a couple of years ago came into my life when I was going through some big purging and detoxing and removing myself from a narcissistic attachment as well. So this is another one good for that. The primary source for this is Norway. It comes also from North Carolina. And it's named after the mythical island of Thule, Thule, now believed to be Norway, Greenland, or Iceland. Represented the most known represented by the north boundaries, sorry, of the world at that time. It's the national gemstone of Norway. So maybe the piece that I have came from Norway. It feels like it did. It feels like it came from far away. So does anybody have any questions about this one or the idea of moving the sadness and the grief through the body, out of the body?
I do. Can you talk about, I have no idea how to do that kind of process. Like, do I sit in a quiet room? I mean, can you just talk about how you actually sit down and use it and follow up to that sit down?
Yeah, so excuse me. So for me, when I feel emotions coming up, a lot of times it will come with intensity. So like when we talked about the appetite and the anger, that comes up with the intensity and the, you know, like heightened heart rate and everything. Same thing with this, with emotions, trauma, grief, sadness. You may have the heightened heart rate. You may have a sign that says, I'm not feeling that great, I need to sit down. So take that sign from your body, sit down, grab the stone. Sometimes I will just touch it. You know, there are worry stones that are very smooth, and that's what they're meant for, is to just rub your thumb back and forth on it and breathe. That may be all you need to do to start to feel the release. Something I haven't mentioned is if you're a right-handed person, your left hand is the best hand to hold your stone in, because you're going to receive energy better there. So basically it's the opposing hand to your dominant hand you receive through. So if you were, for instance, wanting to send energy and healing to someone while you were thinking about them, or maybe you just got off of a phone call with them, you would put it in your dominant hand, think about them, send the energy through your hand, like make your hand hot. That's one of the fastest ways to know that you're moving energy, is focus until your hand gets hot, and then it'll go through the stone. The other way that Thulite is really effective is through lying down and placing it on your heart chakra, so over your sternum. Sometimes what I feel when I do that is if the emotion really is deeper, the stone may feel cold and stay cold for a long time. When it starts to warm up and when it starts to feel like it's a part of you is when it's really working on the deepest levels. Did that answer your question? I know you're taking wicked notes there. Good job.
Yes, thank you. Is my
Okay,
typing
sure.
bothering you guys?
It's not bothering me. I'm impressed. Does anybody have any other questions about, while we're talking about the sadness, grief, anxiety, all the deeper yucky stuff, emotions?
Well, how often do you have to do it? Do you have to keep doing this over and over, or especially if you're working deeply?
If you're working deeply, if you're having a process where you're noticing that every day you're waking up and feeling blue, waking and feeling anxiety, yeah, it needs to be repeated, because when we're working with deeper emotions, they didn't get there overnight. So they're not going to go away overnight. And you need to be gentle with yourself during the process to remember that this is not something that can go away. You can't just, you know, wave a magic wand. It would be nice if you could, but it takes about the same amount of time to heal as it did to get the problem in the first place, whatever it may be, right? So you're going to be hanging out with your crystal a lot if it's deep stuff.
Sounds like it, huh?
Yeah, but it's not bad. I mean, it's, I always feel like it's better to have something that I can hold on to, or that I can call on for assistance, rather than feeling unsupported. Because sometimes we forget, especially when moving through an emotional process, that we can support ourselves, but sometimes we might need a little tool. A lot of times we'll go to another person first, rather than looking inside of ourselves for the support. The working with crystals, especially this one, will help you to remember that you can support yourself, that you can go within, hang out with your inner child and say, I've got your back. It's not about somebody else making me feel better. I'm going to make me feel better. you know? So, yay. Now, I know we're talking about big emotions and stuff. There are days though where I may feel this more than you guys, but I bet you guys have felt it. My last subject for today with the emotions is apathy and lack of motivation. Do you guys ever run into that?
I'm old, of course.
No, I've
Age is
never
a
felt
state
that.
of mind. Yeah.
I got you covered, Star.
Right?
Oh,
Yes. So
me and my sarcasm over here.
lack that's, I love it, but it's so true. Like my lack of motivation for me, I gain motivation when I'm helping other people. So if I have a busy work day, I'm going to be like totally motivated and feeling great. I'm not going to be in that apathy at all. But if I'm having a slower work day, I'm going to feel like, what's my purpose? What does it matter anyway? What do I want to do today? Oh, it doesn't matter because I'm not needed, right? So that's how my life works, in case you guys hadn't figured that out already. That's why I'm a workaholic. But I think that when any of us hit that apathy or lack of motivation, especially like right now, we're coming out of winter, a freeze, and we're in springtime, but it doesn't really feel fully like springtime yet for some of us, I'm sure.
Oh, yes, it does.
Does it? Well, yeah. Mississippi over there.
I just
Of
moved
course.
to Mississippi, so
But if you were in Iowa, you would totally feel what I'm saying,
yeah,
right?
you're right.
So this will help to motivate. This stone, I'm grabbing it because I'm very proud of myself. So I put the slate in the chat again, and I was rocking my canvas skills because I took a picture of this stone and took out the background and then put it on the slate. I was so excited. Anyway, so this is fire quartz, which is also called hematoid quartz, which means that it grew with hematite. So earlier, Steph put up a little piece of hematite. Hematite's the silver stone on the outside, but on the inside it's red. So this quartz picked up the redness, which is from iron deposits, and it turned the quartz orange. So this is a lot about moving the energy in your second chakra. So sacral chakra, which is also, a lot of people associate second chakra with only sexual energy, but it really isn't. It's creation energy. So that means your creativity, your personal power, your excitement in life, joie de vivre. That's this stone. It's going to help with that. Sometimes also this can help you if there are any type of reproductive health issues going on or sluggishness in that area. Like if the period went bye-bye, we don't have it anymore, and we want to find that fire, that passion for life again. Or if you are still having your period and maybe you've missed one or you're having cramping issues, this is another stone that will help with that. Okay. So yeah, I don't know. Does anybody feel like they've lost their spark right now?
Yes, I've really been struggling with a lack of motivation for probably the last few weeks, and it's been really bad with work in terms of procrastination and having a
Yeah.
hard time like focusing and getting a task done that I know I don't really have a deadline, so I just keep pushing it off and off and off, and I need to like buckle down and do it, and I'm really struggling.
Okay, so this would be your friend.
Yes, I need to get one.
Yeah, fire quartz. There are the other alternate stones that I wrote down are ones that you may have. And back to what Star said about shape. So it's definitely a pointy stone kind of situation to get rid of your lack of motivation, to get you fired up again, single or double terminated. I want to point this out since I'm already distracting myself. My brain is going in 12 different directions. This particular stone, if you can see it, is two that have grown together. So this is actually like the energy of twins, which is going to kind of double up on the energy. So if you ever have a crystal that's like twins like this, it's going to give you much more power than just a single point. So, all right, alternate stones. I'll do it in order this time because I'm cute. Sunstone. This is a natural sunstone, polished, of course. There's a lot of fake sunstone out there, so be careful. Sunstone is going to give you about the same boost of the fire quartz. Sunstone also, I feel, brings in the energy of your solar plexus as well. So it's really going to connect you with your purpose, as well as getting you off your butt. And pyrite. My pyrite's a heart. Pyrite is fool's gold. This one is definitely very motivational. It's a great stone for abundance as well, but it will get you out of feeling nothing into feeling something. And then the last one that would go like in the same category as this one. Sort of looks like the hematoid quartz, but this is called golden healer quartz. It has a similar energy actually, but it's more yellow rather than orange. This one grew with the same minerals that come in that change a quartz from being a plain quartz to a yellow, and I don't have the exact minerals to tell you, I'm sorry. But it's similar. So this is a citrine that's polished, so it's a clear yellow, and this is the golden healer. So it's a little deeper yellow. And none of these are heat treated, by the way. Some people heat treat their stones to intensify the color, but these are all natural.
So did you just say
yeah.
one of those was citrine?
Yes.
Like what
I'm
you
just
have-
showing it as an alternate to how different it looks from. This is a
okay.
polished, and this is the golden, oopsie. This is the golden healer.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So when it comes to the lack of motivation, I would actually grab any of these stones at the beginning of the day and or any time that I felt like I needed to move past one of the roadblocks that I had set up for myself, or maybe it's not a whole roadblock, maybe it's just a speed bump, and grab the stone and say, okay, let's go. Think of it as like your blast off stone. It's the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let's go, rather than sit there and think about it. I know I wrote something about fire quartz. Fire quartz is found in Brazil, South Africa, and Germany, as well as Switzerland and the United States. And it's iron that changes the color. So hematite has a lot of iron in it as well. So that because it has the iron deposits, this is something that would help if you were feeling the physical form of lack of motivation, which would be anemia, or even borderline anemics can benefit from this. So does anybody have any questions about this stone or this idea of moving the lack of motivation and apathy through your system?
I just have a comment. I think it's really interesting you just brought up the iron thing, because I've felt lately to eat more like protein and meat and like red meat. And I never really thought that as part of like the lack of motivation I've had.
Yeah, it's an interesting connection. So for me, my trigger was always when I would crave spinach salad. I knew I was on the anemic side, the lack of motivation side. It was always, oh, I want a spinach salad. And then I finally, I tracked that in my life, and every time it was either PMS time or I was really dragging, like nothing would give me energy, but that always would. So yeah, so you're just doing it in animal form. So having some of this around would help. You know, the other thing with the idea of all of these crystals, this one especially, like this subject especially, is about movement. So this can help you to get back in motion. Some of the other stones like the thulite kind of would tend to let you sit with it and let you process and move gently through something, right? The anger one is going to cool you down. This one, especially because of the color, is going to fire you up, literally. So it's going to want you to move. It's hard to sit with a stone like this and not get a little kick in the tush to actually get up and do something. So I've been going through my house and targeting certain areas to clean up that had been bothering me, that I had a lack of motivation to touch. So this stone has been on my desk for about 2 weeks because I've been doing like the prep work for a little get together today. So I know it's been helping me. So ask me questions, you guys. What haven't I talked about that you want me to talk about, or what can I answer for you?
So the majority of my crystals have come from a subscription service that I used to belong to, and you don't know what you get until you get it. Can you give recommendations on where, like, I definitely want this last one you just talked about. Do you
The
order
fire
them
cord?
on? Yeah, order online. Do I, I want thulite too.
Yeah. So my favorite crystal store is out of Phoenix, and it's Valley Crystals. Their website is valleycrystalsshop.com, and it's owned by Avi and Jessica, a cool married couple. They're young. They have high quality stones. Many of what I've touched today came from them. The fire quartz came from them. The thulite came from them. The blue apatite came from them. They sometimes do live crystal shows on Instagram, but their website has a lot of stuff. They will track down whatever it is that you want. So you can send them a message through their website. You can mention me. They'll work harder for you. They work hard for everybody anyway, but if they hear my name, they'll work harder. So that's a good place. The stones that you got, you don't necessarily know the origin of.
Right.
You don't know whether they were sourced from China. You don't know if they've had a long life living in a box and they haven't had a chance to come out and play. So like you were saying, you put it on a tray in the sun, in the window. That's a great way to recharge them and to make them your own. But if you're not super knowledgeable with crystals and you're not someone who necessarily feels the vibration of crystals, you might not know if they're real or not. So some of them, especially coming out of China, there's a lot of fakes. So you want to pay attention to whether the stone has weight. Most stones have some weight to them. Even the black tourmaline that's all bumpy and stuff will still have a certain weight to it. Some of the ones coming out of China are very light. And they sort of feel cold and they won't take on energy from your hand. You know how I said earlier, hold it and you'll feel the stone heat up. Some of the ones out of China won't. Okay, the fakes, I mean. There are real crystals coming out of China, to be clear, but there are a lot of fake ones. Okay.
Will you do this again in another month?
I will, if you would love me to do it in another month. And what I want to know from you guys is what emotions haven't we talked about? If you think I should still keep with the same theme of like moving emotions or energy, or if there's something else that you think we should focus on. And I will take notes now when you give me your ideas.
Well, I think the first thing I really appreciated was just about the shapes. Never even thought about how the shapes can change or impact the vibration or like the type of healing that is done. That is just like mind blown. I was just like, oh, I just like the shape where I feel called to have this or whatever, but I never really thought about the double point, single point, rounded, I'm like, I have to sit with that for a while because I just feel like revolutionary right there.
Okay, so it
thank
sounds
you.
like we could talk more about shapes.
Yeah,
next.
I'm just so fascinated by that.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Star.
Yeah, thank you for the question.
And Deb, is there anything subject-wise for you while I take a drink of water?
I asked a lot of questions throughout, so I really appreciated making that possible as we work through each stone in emotion. I'm just so new to this. I like pretty rocks, So whatever you want to talk about, I'm good with.
Okay,
Normal,
awesome.
everyday things that happen to people, just to get through some of those things that get us stuck.
Okay, so getting unstuck.
Can we maybe talk about myth versus truth as well?
Okay, about crystals, right?
Yeah.
Like what they
Um,
can do for us, what they can't.
Yes, and where we put them and where we shouldn't. And you know, like I've heard crazy stories about people using crystals
and bonding with their crystals in very interesting ways that in this room, I will tell you for sure, we can say the vajayjay has been used as a place to house your crystals. Yes. And we
Alright.
don't want to do that. Yeah. But everybody here I know is okay with that.
Woo! That's
Yeah.
that is something.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. So I like that. Where not to put your crystals. All right.
I think it could be cool too if you actually, to Deb's point about like how do we use them, is like add that into this, is spending maybe 10 or 15 minutes of like us doing it all together collectively, like we each maybe going through our own like releasing of anger or sadness, grief, jealousy, whatever, but
Okay.
doing the ceremony piece together would actually be kind of neat to practice on that.
Okay, cool. I love that. Then I would sort of set up a prerequisite of what stone we're going to use. I would work it around something that we probably all have already. Okay. Cool. I love it. I take notes very slowly and I'm not typing. If I was typing, it would be faster. Sorry. All right. I love that. Thank you, you guys. This has been super fun. And we were supposed to have more people here, but I think we had the perfect group of people here.
Thank you so much.
I learned so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yay! I know I move fast, I talk fast, but you know, I'm just trying to squeeze it all in. But I will let you guys know for next time, and send me texts or messages with like good times for you. Like, I don't know if this time slot would work to do it again, because I would be okay to do it again at this time slot. So just let me know. Okay.
And thank you for the images too. That was very helpful.
Okay, good. Yeah, I wanted to make sure that you guys had something to take away with you, because otherwise it goes by really fast. You know, like for me, I know if I take a class and I take notes and then I'm like, what was that? What was I supposed to know?
What did that look like again? What? Yeah.
Or even the spelling, because I spelled thulite wrong in my own notes. So it was nice to just see how to properly spell that.
Okay, cool. The other thing I was going to say had something to do with, it was important and it just went out of my head. Don't mind me. So in the upcoming classes, I know the group that I have in front of me right now, you know where your chakras are. But do you feel like it would be helpful to have like a chakra graphic image that would show a little bit more?
Sure. I mean, just like we had these images available. If you want the chakra graphic, great. If you don't have to take it.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then
like maybe a chakra with a crystal that would, you know,
associate. Yeah.
yeah, like you know what I'm saying? Like there are some that you
Mhm.
definitely don't want to put near your head.
Right. Yeah, exactly. The ones that are going to be too intense. Okay. And then the other idea that I had, which you guys might like, is different essential oils that could also be used to amplify certain crystals to heal certain emotions. So to bring that in as well.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And a little bit more about the color therapy.
Yeah, I also like tying in with the chakras, like the action versus like the different kind of pieces there too. Like with the point, you'd want action to go with these chakras versus the subtle, more rounder ones. Like that, I think could be a nice way to tie it in with an image.
Okay, cool. Yay! All right, you guys, thank you so much. This is great.
Thank you.
Thanks. Oh boy, I'm all choked up now. Frogs and throat. Thank you for letting me record it too, so that I can, look at myself with frogs in my throat. All right, I'm just looking at the time. Are you guys okay if we end just a couple minutes early? Unless you have more questions. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I love all of you. And
nice
I'm so
to
glad
see
we
you.
got to hang out.
Nice to meet you, ladies.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, you guys.
Bye.